Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 59 of Bodied, the Cloud9 Fancast. And tonight, we got a kind of a special episode. We will be discussing some C9 esports, but mostly Dreamhack Denver, which Frozen was at. And
Yeah,
then
I
we'll
was
probably
there.
What?
I was there. I saw the Boys in Blue play a couple CSGO games. It was pretty hype, honestly. I had a lot of fun.
Cool. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, and we'll also talk about Cloud9's quarterfinals match against WE. Still a little bit sad, but it's whatever. I'm Havokpus, your host. I'm joined by Frozencreek and Dr. Manhattan. Say hello, Dr. Manhattan.
Hello, people. After much demand of some of my rants, along with many other rants, I am back to join tonight.
We got rants on rants. So
I mean, at the end of the day, it's not like Arndris is here in any way, so...
Like he said he would be. The liar.
He might be, I don't know. But I
Feels
just
bad.
assume that he's not here.
Oh well. He's missing out. But let's start. Let's kick things off with kind of a big story, and that is Cloud9 is ready to rumble with their latest line of incoming investment. So not only have the current investors kind of doubled down and agreed to pledge more to the organization, they have ranked in some new money. Some you may recognize. They have the WWE, that is right, the Worldwide Wrestling Entertainment people, the Beverly Hills Sports Council, Monumental Sports Entertainment, which is their co-owner Raul Fernandez, Creative Artists Agency co-founder Michael Ovitz, a venture capital firm called Founders Fund, and MLB veteran Hunter Pence. And he's also going to be joined as an observer on the company's board. So that's actually pretty big. I think that Cloud9 got like 25 million, maybe a little bit more. But what do you guys think about this news? What does this spell for the organization? Probably good things. Probably lots of shiny good things.
For starters, it means more Skrilla, considering that we have more money to work with in terms of just all the teams that we have. But it could also lead to a lot of just resources. One of these actually touches home for me. I think I mentioned to you guys earlier, is that Monumental Esports is actually a sports firm and entertainment industry that they are very, very close with the Wizards and the Capitals. This is the hockey team, the Washington Capitals, and the basketball team, the Washington Wizards, that represent Washington D.C. And actually, they're not complete strangers to esports, considering that one of the other co-owners, and actually I think CEO of Monumental Esports, is Ted Leonosis. Ted Leonosis, if you guys remember, was the guy who, one of the owners who actually invested a ton of money into Team Liquid earlier this year. So they're not really complete strangers to esports in that regard. But it's also going to be interesting to see how they can do stuff like getting like some more staff, whether it's more psychologists, more better housing for some of the players, considering we have Overwatch League right around the corner right now, and maybe we can get more support for some of like the other teams, like the Liquid, or I mean not the Liquid, the League, or the CSGO team. We can have like stuff like what Echo Fox has, or like Envious has, if I recall correctly. Envious also has like their own training facility where the players can separate their streams and their free time from work, which according to guys like Someday actually is a much better way to do things than just stay at home all day and live in a gaming house.
Yeah, Jack actually said how he wants to make kind of like a Cloud9 campus, if you will, and have everyone kind of operating under one roof. They have like a doctor, they have like a chef for a couple of, they have pretty much everyone just kind of running around in this one big building. And maybe the money coming from this can help with that. I certainly hope so. Would actually really like to see how the building is kind of designed and everything is kind of sectioned out. But I think that'd be super sick. Hopefully this investment money certainly goes to a lot of good things. I know Overwatch League is expensive, and the NALCS is certainly kind of pricey as well. So that will definitely help us in the long run. So let me go over a couple of other esports stuff, and then we can talk to our good friend Frozen about Dreamhack Denver and how that was. So Vainglory played, and they actually lost to Tribes in the quarterfinals. So they only got to play one set, and they lost 1-2. It was actually really interesting because Tribes has a very similar playstyle to them. They play very scrappy team fights. They put a lot of pressure on the jungle early and try to invade that a lot. And the team just kind of got beat by their own game. It was kind of rough. Hopefully they can fix whatever issues that they ran into last weekend for this weekend. And, you know, hopefully they can fix it. Rocket League had another big win. They participated, well, I guess kind of big win. It was kind of a small tournament, but they participated in the Northern Arena Rocket League Invitational. And they pretty much cleaned house. There was a few big names there. Probably the biggest was probably PSG. I think NRG was also there. But the grand finals, we ended up playing against PSG. We beat them in the finals, and they came back with a vengeance, I guess. And PSG reset the bracket with a 4-3 win, and Cloud9 showed them who's boss with a dominant 4-1 victory. And I have to wonder, are we just the best Rocket League team in the world? Because we're constantly just performing and playing against these high-level teams and winning. I'm curious to see where the competition can really step up to us. I'm really looking forward to the World Cup tournament to see how we do against other teams from other countries.
Do you know when that tournament is, or should I look that up?
I actually have no idea. I just know that they qualified for it. I'm not sure when the tournament takes place.
All right, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, one thing my brother was telling me, he kind of like follows the Rocket League, so he kind of like feeds me information. But he said like of all the in his relatively limited experience in watching Rocket League esports, he said that Cloud9 really is one of the teams that has impressed him the most. Mainly, damn it, I should have written down as what players. But in general, hopefully they can at least they can give Cloud9 or put them on the map in terms of not just Rocket League as they already have, but also kind of putting us on the map in some sort of esport at least.
I mean, we're already kind of on the map in a lot of esports. I mean, we don't win.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, I just want us to I want us to win something with like some of these.
We win just enough to where we're super relevant all the time. Can't get over that final hurdle, that final hump. But we'll get there eventually, one day, maybe.
One day.
But yeah, it was a pretty cool tournament. I only watched the Cloud9 matches, but when Cloud9 is at a tournament, do you really want to watch any other team? I don't think so. But yeah, Squishy was just a machine. Torment and Gimmick were also very good. This Rocket League team just continues to impress, and I'm really curious where the ceiling actually is for this team. And I think the World Cup will definitely, show that. I can't stretch this anymore, but hopefully Frozen will get back to us maybe on a date. So
I'm not having much luck right now, just because the 2017 quote unquote World Cup was a couple months ago, so I think it's a different tournament.
Oh, it might just be the World Championship.
2018 one. So yeah,
or it might be the 2018 one.
So we can just move on, and I will try and find it at some point.
Yeah, that sounds good. So there was like a little CSGO thing that I wanted to kind of include before the Dreamhack thing, and that was just that they played in ECS and they beat Immortals pretty easily at 2-0. It's actually not, I guess, a surprising victory considering Immortals roster is pretty much in shambles. So to beat them at this point is child's play basically. Yesterday, the 24th, they did play against Luminosity and they won 1-1. But enough about the small stuff. Frozen, you went to DreamHack. How was that?
It was actually pretty sweet. It was the first time I've ever really watched professional esports live. So it was my first opportunity ever to see a Cloud9 team actually play in real life, and it was a lot of fun. Most of the teams there that Cloud9 played, at least, were Europeans, so there was a lot of just USA fans, and that was most of the cheering that went on. But the funny thing was that it actually took place inside of like a rodeo stadium. So like they were like
really?
super, yeah, they were like super low to the ground compared to everyone else, because they were on like the floor, and everyone else was like maybe 8 feet up in the stands. And there was actually three different stages going on. One was specifically for CSGO. One I think was for Halo specifically, and I think another one had Rainbow Six on it. I'm not 100% sure about that because I never actually went to the other stages. I just came in to watch CSGO. It was really cool to watch them. I watched them 3 games, I think. I watched them in their best of 3 game win in the semifinals, and I watched them destroy Big in the finals, and I watched them Mouse Sports was the semifinals, and I watched them win their first match. I forgot who that one was against, but I bought my first Cloud9.
They played in groups. They played Tempo Storm and Renegades.
Yeah, it was Tempo Storm.
And they crushed them 16-4, and they crushed Renegades 16-1.
Yeah. I didn't get to Renegades. I think I was at dinner or something, and I just mistimed it. But I bought my first Cloud9 merch. I bought the classic blue shirt. Fnatic had a stand there, which was really cool. It was like my first like big event, I guess. So there was a lot.
Did you like the atmosphere? Did you like all the people there and everything?
Everyone I met and talked to was really cool. There was this one woman who sat behind us at the LAN, and she came dressed as Aurelia on the first day. It was like a super intricate costume with like this giant weapon. And then the second day for the cosplay contest, she came dressed as Misfortune, which wasn't quite as like technically skilled, but it was still cool. I didn't talk to her, but there was a really cool Soraka costume too. She had like the hoofs on and everything, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. Did you see the cosplay contest, or did you just notice some people that were dressed up? No, I went in and watched it. They separated into 3 different categories. So the Soraka was in like the second highest. Most of the Overwatch ones were in the bottom 2 tiers, just because every woman dresses as diva at some point in time. Like the high tier was super legit. I don't even know like what character it was or what game, but one of the women had like this sweet ass like wings on her back that like extended from her. I guess I can't even like explain it. I'll look up who it was as we when I'm done talking, but it was like overall just a super cool experience, and I would totally do it again. So next year, I would recommend anybody go to Dreamhack. There were also a lot of Cloud9 fans there, which is super cool to see, just because they were playing in Worlds. If it wasn't a 4 or a 2 a.m. start time there, I think I would have been more inclined to hang out and see if there were other people there to watch it with. But all in all, it it was a really cool experience. I think I would recommend if people were going, if they have things that they value specifically in Denver, wink wink nudge nudge, towards some of the legal activities in Denver that aren't illegal in most states. Yes.
Yeah, totally skiing.
Exactly that. Yeah, I would recommend Denver in that case, but I think from what I've heard that Atlanta's a better destination. If they changed the venue in Denver, I think it could have been cooler. Like, it was like straight up at like this like country ass rodeo place, which it worked out. It was like a perfect size. Oh, I also saw Mang0 play. I didn't get to see all of it because the finals were at the same time as CSGO, but I watched him beat CLG guy, I think is who it was.
What? PPU or SFAT?
Pardon?
What's it?
He played somebody.
Was it SFAT or PPU? Those are the two CLG guys.
I know he beat Chudat at some point.
Oh, I think it was Chudat. Is
yeah, it was Chudat because you mentioned that Ice Climbers is bullshit.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Or that's who that was. Yeah, I tried to start a Mang0 chant, and instead it was no one took part in it, which was kind of sad. But
feels bad.
Oh, that's depressing.
Yeah, I would totally recommend taking a trip to a Dreamhack. The BYOC was a lot of fun. We never had internet problems at all, so that was probably maybe a first or second for LANs. And I've been to a decent amount of them. I'm gonna stop because it's probably been 5 minutes of me talking about Dreamhack.
No, you're good. This is a
yeah, like, if you guys have any like specific questions, I know Dr. Manhattan's been to LCS finals and stuff, but
yeah,
it's kind of like a different event, I guess. So like, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I can try and answer them as best as I can. But I hope that I will be at Dreamhack Atlanta next year, and I hope that there will be a certain co-host there too. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's you, Havokpus.
Yeah. Maybe. We'll have to see where it is and everything. I'm in Alabama, which is far away.
That's not that far. Okay, I drove 18 hours
That's a long time.
To Dreamhack. Yeah, I drove 18 hours to go to Dreamhack Denver. You can drive 4 hours to Atlanta?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I'll figure something out. Anyway, let me
one last plug.
What?
One last plug, then you can go. I will be at Fort Con in Fort Wayne, Indiana this weekend if anyone is going to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, so hit them up. It's going to be at that con. But yeah, just to kind of go over the Dreamhack events results. CSGO won the tournament. They beat Big 2-0. And it was the first tournament with this new roster. And I'm wondering if this is a signal for bigger and better things. They definitely look really good on LAN versus when they play online. So I'm really hoping that this is sort of the start of Cloud9 getting bigger and better and beating more and more people. And as for Mang0, he did get second place. He lost to HBox twice, which is kind of sad, but I mean, second's just as good as first if you think about it. You know, top two is nothing to cry about. I know, you know, first is ideally what you want, but second's good too. Any thoughts on the actual results you guys have? Or
I think it's decent. Second is not a failure for Mang0, I don't think. And there were a lot of heavy hitters there. It's not like he just played a bunch of scrubs in like the big stages. So I mean, it's not bad. It's not incredible. So the CSGO was exciting to watch. watching it in person is a little bit different for sure, because like on the screen you can't really see like the mini map quite as much, so you kind of just watch people die and cheer. So I didn't get to watch much of the map movements too much, but yeah, I thought that they did look pretty good. I mean, the competition itself wasn't anything to call home about for the most part, but a tournament wins a tournament win, and especially since it's the first one for this roster, I'm hoping that it carries on into the future. After seeing some of their other events, maybe that's questionable, but I'm hopeful still.
Hey, baby steps. You got to take it one tournament at a time. But yeah, let's move on to our next segment, which I am actually extremely excited about. So, the rumors come out, gentlemen. Cloud9 has signed GC Busan and will integrate them into their Overwatch League roster. We got Profit. We got a bunch of other people that I didn't really pay attention to because it's mostly Profit. But we got the GC Busan roster, the Apex Season 4 champions, the one that beat Lunatic High twice and kicked our asses. And this isn't just... A lot of people might feel angry with this because they're like, oh, you just lost Apex, so you're just buying the winner. There's actually sort of a bigger reason for this, and it's that 3 players from the Kongdu roster are actually leaving. You have Void, who is leaving due to contract issues and such, like he missed practices. He didn't like how the management was kind of approaching the contracts that he had and stuff in terms of moving to London. Waka Waka, who is like one of their support players, he wanted to play for Team Seoul, so he is left to join their team. And Curious, who is their sub, has announced that he is retiring from Overwatch and to play PUBG. So these pickups are actually kind of necessary when you look at it, because we can't play with 4 people. So you need to fill out that roster. So picking up GC Busan facilitates this and more. With a 12-man roster, you can just have really good internal scrims, and with the level of play that each one, at least individually, has displayed, I can't think of a lot of teams that can really step up to us and beat us. There might be like New York, because they have a Korean roster. South Korea's team, of course. Maybe... I think some people have been saying Dallas. I think they've been saying Dallas is really strong. But other than that, I can't really think of a roster that can really... or a lot of Overwatch League teams that can really go to toe-to-toe on this. So, Frozen, I want to start with you, since you've been kind of helping me follow Overwatch stuff. What do you think about this move?
I think my first thought about it is that that we're probably the favorites for the first season, just based on the roster that we've put together. You're not talking about all of the influences and stuff based around a London C9 roster and such. I'm gonna ignore all of that, because I think that this team was built to win, and that I think it's gonna be tough for anyone in the world to beat this team. I mean, even like the NA teams who have seasoned players, I guess. Who was the one Cloud9 Tracer player that we had at first?
I think NRG's team, I think, has Sinatra.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm not sure.
That's the San Francisco Shock. That's the.
Yeah, San Francisco.
Okay. Yeah, I think we, as much as I loved him, we made a huge step up with Profit. I think Profit probably could step into almost any team in the world and make them better. And he's coming off a huge couple performances in Apex. And I think that maybe besides the South Korean team, that this Cloud9 roster is probably going to dominate the first season of Overwatch League while teams catch up, just because all of the players have been playing competitive Overwatch for seasons now, and that's gonna be a huge benefit to this Cloud9 roster that's soon to be named something else. And honestly, I don't know the players all that well, and I've only watched Prophet like once or twice, but good God, that guy is incredible. His match against
he does things that I've never seen another like Tracer do before. Like how he just like maneuvers around the enemy team and somehow just gets pick after pick into their backline. It's just like, how are you letting him get through? What are you doing? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like watching Faker's LeBlanc, the old one. It just some of the shit he does is just incredible, and watching them completely destroy Kongdu in Apex, was that semifinals?
It was the semifinals, and before that, I think they played against Lunatic High, and they beat them pretty handily as well.
Yeah, it looked like in that Samas game that Prophet came down from heaven and just completely outplayed the whole Kongdu roster, and it honestly just seemed like he hard carried the victory. So I'm super excited to see how he's going to play with the rest of the Kongdu squad, because I think that the team has a lot of potential going into Overwatch League.
Yeah, same here. I do think that this move does kind of come without, it's not without its challenges. Since you're basically kind of meshing together like two different squads who kind of play differently, they need to build up their synergy with each other, and some kind, that can take time, especially with like a 12-man roster that you kind of plan on maybe plugging and playing different people depending on a specific map or specific opponent or something. The other people have also said that there's a lot of hero overlap, like pretty much everyone on both teams kind of plays everything, so it's kind of hard to be like, well, we need a Genji, but like you have like 2 or 3 Genjis, so you have to decide like which one's the better Genji. But I think as long as all the coaching staff and whoever they're bringing on with them, if they can just kind of figure out what to do, how to approach maps and opponents, and make sure they're well practiced, I think this Overwatch League roster is just gonna wreck everybody, and I think that they can definitely get first place for the first season. If no one has any other thoughts, let's move on to, I guess, the big story, and that's Cloud9 versus W8 Worlds. Now, this was a very tough loss, I think specifically because it went to 5 games, and we had opportunities to win the series and, either not take it to 5 games or, maybe do things better to win that final 5th game. But let's try to look at the good first, and then we can kind of focus on the negatives later. So, Dr. Manhattan, start us off with some goods. Give me some of that good.
Well, one of the first things that comes to mind when it comes to goods is just the creativity that we saw out of them in their drafts. More specifically, we saw Impact break out the Singed, which actually I did some research in terms of when was the last time he played that competitively. The last time he ever competitively played Singed was back when he was on SK Telecom, right after the World Championship. And
he looked great on it. He was running circles around WE.
So that was really fun to see out of them. And just the fact that despite this being a team that topped in my opinion, a very tricky group that was with Misfits and TSM and Flash Wolves, the fact that we could actually put up a good fight against them was one of the best things in my opinion.
Yeah, I think also we should also highlight sort of the team's level of competitiveness and their drafting in those first 3 games. Maybe even the 4th game. But I think drafting overall was really great. It was very smart, it was very innovative, and it was very smart. Team play and competitives was really great and really smart. I think specifically Sneaky, we need to highlight the fact that Sneaky did really well minus a couple foibles, maybe in like just game 1 really. But that really wasn't his, that death wasn't his fault, because Kog'Maw had like 12% crit chance and he crit 3 times. And you can't calculate that.
I will say that if you get a chance to destroy a Kog'Maw, that you should probably hit one of these, Lulu Ultimate, Lulu Heal, or Kog'Maw Barrier at some point, or Tristana Barrier at some point. And I think that if one of those would have been executed correctly, that we would have won we would have won that series. And in that, I do think that Sneaky played well. I just think that if one of those things would have gone well, or gone correctly for either Sneaky or Smoothie, that we would have won that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the weird thing about this series, and the thing that makes me feel very iffy about even talking about it now, is that it literally came down to a game of inches, where WE just made like 2 or maybe 3 less mistakes than we did. And it was very evenly matched, and I think that that's admirable, but at the same time it's kind of upsetting just because it was evenly matched and then you lose. That's very sad, but on the other hand it's like, hey, it's evenly matched and you took them to all 5 games and you made a really great show out of it, and that's very admirable. So I think it's kind of a bittersweet feeling. They ended up losing, but they played really hard and they played their hearts out. Especially since Sneaky was playing, on top of Reckless that whole time. He should definitely get a medal for that. Get the joke, because Reckless was in the chair, so it's like he never left the chair. So Sneaky had to kind of sit on top of Reckless.
Feels bad.
But they did do some stuff wrong. I think their map play was really sluggish, and that was one of the things that bothered me. It was, WE was just kind of on the map and making the moves first, and then Cloud9 was having to go like, oh, well, they're doing this, so we have to figure out something to do to counter, instead of Cloud9 being the ones to make the first move. And I think that was maybe one of the things that helped Cloud9 not win, I guess.
I guess there were a lot of things that would have made the result as it was. I think at the end of the day, the biggest question would be, do you guys think that Cloud9 left everything that they had on the Rift? And like, do you think they expended everything that they had practicing and leading up against who was a team that was arguably the best Chinese team? And I think as a team that's definitely suited for the semifinals of Worlds, either as a top 4 team or a top 5 team in the world. So do you guys think that we left everything that we could have out on the Rift, or do you think that there was a little more left in our tank that we didn't quite expend?
I think we did. I think we put all of our cards on the table, and we came out swinging every single game, even in that game 5 where the draft was really bad. I think that the team gave 110%, and and I think the series showed that. The first 3 games were great, and game 4 was decent, barring Contrax's kind of derpy play on Sejuani. They didn't give up until the very end, and I think that Cloud9 is definitely a world-class team, and I think they showed that. It was just, like I said earlier, Cloud9 wins sometimes. They can't get the big wins, but they'll win just enough to where everyone still really likes them, and they're still really relevant. They just couldn't get over that little last hump. But I think they did great. I think that Cloud9 is still definitely a world-class team, and if Impact stays on for another year, I think we can definitely maybe get to semifinals if we try even harder than we did this year. And I think the progress that we showed with Reaper and everyone on this roster this year, I think it definitely shows.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I left as much as everyone was pained by that draft in Game 5. Like of all the losses I've seen Cloud9 take in like best of fives, so that's what 3 this year.
Yeah. This was like a quality loss.
This was the least painful one. Like I was like just nodding. Like,
yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Like we got that, and then not only semifinals next year, but like maybe like if we can keep this team and the way they're looking, considering I've loved the growth out of contracts and out of Smoothie specifically. I feel like they're the two players that have grown just to insane proportions. I mean, Jensen already had glimpses of in 2016 that he was going to be a damn good player. So I kind of expected this level of Jensen, but to see contracts and Smoothie just grow to like this length, it just gets me optimistic, not just for maybe next year's World, but also NA in 2018.
Yeah, let's actually talk about contracts specifically for a minute, because I think if you look at how he played when he started in the spring and how he is now, I think he's made incredible, growths and improvements just in his team play, in his pathing and everything. Sometimes he messes up kind of an aggressive invade, but I feel like the aggressive invade is the right move. Like, it's not that was a bad decision, it was just he misexecuted the decision. So I think that he's definitely improving, and I think that if he continues to improve, he can probably be one of the best, if not the best jungler in North America, as long as we continue to facilitate him and nurture him like we have been. I think he can definitely become a gigantic asset, and he's already a big asset. I think that he just needs to continue to grow. I mean, this was his first Worlds, so you kind of have to not be so hard on him with his mistakes, but barring the few mistakes that he did make during the WE series, I think he's been playing great. I think he's going to continue to play great.
The kid's only 18 years old, for God's sake. This guy has a long way to go, in his career. So I'm optimistic about that.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say next. The dude's only 18. When I was 18, I was in marching band at Michigan State trying to pick up chicks 8 years older than me almost, and he's out in Korea or in China and out jungling some of like the world's best. So I mean, I think at the end of the day, Worlds I think would probably be considered a success. And I think that we played to our upper limits as players, and that I think that they can come home happy knowing that they went out there and overperformed a lot of other people's expectations, and that they came out of Group of Death barely scarred. The only thing that I would have liked to see in hindsight was them to beat Team WE, just because they had them against the ropes a couple times and just couldn't quite put it away. That's looking back in hindsight. Do you guys want to do too early a reaction to the season as a whole, or do you guys want to just wait to a future episode to talk about the season as a whole? Like spring, summer, and
we have time. I think we can totally do it.
Let's finish this discussion, then we can talk more about it.
I have one last question, and that is, what are your guys' thoughts on Reaper? Should he stay or should he go? Some people were upset, because of the draft for Game 5, but I don't think that we need to. I think we need to hold on to him, because the fact that was able to wrangle a high-list Cloud9 and then turn them into a legitimate, Worlds level team in just the span of like a year or two is actually really impressive. And sometimes we do have a bad draft, but you have to remember that the draft is a very give and take part of the game. He's not like saying like, okay, contracts, you play this, Jensen, you play this. It's him asking the players for feedback, and then the players tell him how confident they are into certain picks and matchups and such. So it's a very reciprocal kind of experience. So, mistakes sometimes happen, but I think on the whole, Reapert is a great coach, and I think that if he continues to stay on the team, I think that he can probably get us to even higher heights than we reached this year.
I wouldn't want to get rid of him.
For me,
go ahead, man.
Sorry, go.
I wouldn't really want to get rid of him. I mean, I think that I think to really deny the amount of progress, or just the amount of influence he's had on the team just based off of one series is just a bit unfair. I think that not only he is just a figure in the team, in the analytical sense, where he's definitely took a team that was was somewhat dysfunctional, or just looking like they were never on the same page back in spring 2016, back when we had Rush and Balls last season. We took a team where we added Meteos, we added Impact, and then we had this weird fiasco between Bunny and Smoothie as to who would be the final support. And then he took that kind of awkward kind of spot into a North American final that summer, translating into a great season that we had this past spring. And I don't really think that he was too much to blame in terms of the execution of the players back in this past summer when we lost to Dig. I think that was much more of an execution than it was a draft thing. But if you look at just the impact he's had of just trying to get these players all on the same page, and B, just the overall presence he has in terms of being able to delegate his responsibilities and just being able to make things very clear for a lot of our players, I think that he has been nothing short of just a great figure and coach for a team, and I would love to see him again for that year. We're kind of hurt to see him go.
I can definitely agree that it would be hard to watch him go, but I'm not 100% sure on keeping him, just based on the fact that we've performed we failed a lot domestically when I don't think that we should have, based on the quality of our players. Potentially, I think 1 year wouldn't be too much to see what happens, because I think the world's growth that Contracts has shown proves that maybe they just need one more split to get it all together. But some of the play that has resulted throughout the domestic season, mostly in some split, has been terribly questionable. Losing to Dig, ending up, what was it, fourth in the regular season?
I believe so.
Yeah, that isn't good enough for the roster that we had assembled going into that season, and you can come up with a ton of excuses for that also, but at the end of the day, he's still a leader of the troops, and how they perform on the Rift is a direct is how he organizes them and prepares them for how they show up on match day. And I think a lot of the world's success, I guess success is a good term, helps make up for it because it's at the end of the season. But I'd really like to see him qualify for Worlds without having to run the gauntlet again, because I think that Cloud9 as an organization should be at a point where they can qualify for Worlds without having to run the gauntlet or playing play-ins, and that not meeting that is a failure for the team and Reapert as a whole. But I don't think that we should advocate for a change until there's someone better on the market that would be willing to come here. And I don't know how long that list would be, but I'm not open to making a lateral change, and that I think that it has to be a change that is an obvious progression in coaching.
Okay. Well, I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I can't really think of like a counter argument, I suppose, but yeah, that's perfectly fair. I guess sort of moving to just a little bit talk about the season as a whole. I think that this season was good. It wasn't great. I'm not sure if I can call it a success. I guess you can call it a success since we made quarterfinals at Worlds this 2017 season. We did fluster against Dignitas, and I think that will forever be a black spot on our record. But, you know, sometimes mistakes happen. I think that it's important to just, you know, not only as for the team, but as a fan base as a whole, just kind of forgive and forget. I think they did well. You know, spring championship, they got second, which is great. They proved that in terms of North American talent that is Worlds ready, we are the most Worlds ready. We are undefeated in the gauntlet. We went to quarterfinals at Worlds. It was a little bumpy along the way, but at the end of the day, I think this season was good. What about you guys? What are your thoughts?
I enjoyed this season. I think it was very, very much of a roller coaster. I would say a much more steady roller coaster at that. Summer is probably the only one that comes to mind that, yeah, I do agree that was just probably the darker era, or just a little black spot. But I mean, they pulled it together at the end, and you know, despite CLG looking intimidating against Dignitas in the third place matchup, we showed that, you know, we're experts at this gauntlet, and really there's no one that can stop us. Despite we had an explosive opening, for the first half of spring, where we just legit looked like no one could stop us, and in general we kept that with just a few bumps in the road, we kept that dominant up until the final, until the NA Spring Finals, where we lose in Game 5. If I had to really give this season like a grade, like kind of like a grade, I would give it kind of like a B-, just because Worlds kind of made that a bit, at least just made me just get more meaning out of it. And the fact that we went to the play-ins very well, and we went in this group again, much stronger than I've ever seen us in any group in previous World Championships, and us leaving as the staple of the last hope of North America. I can overall look at this season with a grin on my face.
All right, Frozen, what about you?
I do have a hard time grading this season just because it was disappointing to see us lose Game 5 in the spring. But I think looking back on it, what is it now? Maybe 6 months later, that was probably the best we could do without it being like devastating in a way. Anything less than a tough fought series against TSM probably would have made the spring a failure. The summer, complete failure, I think. Finishing fourth, dropping immediately in playoffs is completely unacceptable, and they rebounded for Worlds and for the Gauntlet, but I think that this was a team that had the quality to auto-qualify, and that is not something that we have been able to ever do since the Gauntlet has been a thing. So that was extremely disappointing, and I don't think anyone could disagree with that at this point. But I think how Reaper prepared them for Worlds was something that not even I was expecting. Some of the picks that they had ready to pull out. We saw Galio mid, we saw Raelian Soul, we saw Singed. We saw a sneaky Paul Caitlyn, which wasn't something that was quote unquote a meta before. We saw Team WE come out and smack Peep across the face with it. I think that the world's preparation was really good, and it was a couple botched executions away from a semifinals bid, and I think that should be considered an overwhelming success. And I think it comes down to, what do the fans value more, world's success or domestic success? Because I think domestically that we underperformed throughout spring and summer, if you averaged it out, but we, I guess, overperformed at Worlds. A group's stage exit would have been disappointing, but like it wouldn't have been completely unfair considering the group that we were in. So advancing out of it, I guess, would be considered a pretty big success. And if I were to give it a grade, I think a B- is also fair. So that was just a super roundabout way to say that a B-, this is probably a good grade.
All right. Well, from my college experience, a B- is a great grade. So, congratulations, Cloud9, on passing the grade for this year. But
yeah, just like the biggest thing is domestically, we've been pretty questionable at best, and I could deal with a group exit if we were to win a split. Honestly, I think I could be okay with us dropping out of groups if we were to win a split in North America. So I'm not sure which I value more, but I think that this team should have won a split since what is it? Season 4 now? Is that the last time they won a split?
I don't know. I can't remember.
What, C9?
Yeah, I've been watching since season 5, since the 5N Medios Ultimate with Sejuani, and they've never won a split. Oh, well, I've been watching, so I think that would be season 4. Does anyone know?
Last time he won,
not off the top of my head.
Last time he won, I think I watched that. Spring 2014, so yeah, season 4. That was when we went to what was MSI at the time at All-Star Paris, and that's when High's lung collapsed, and we had to take Link, and we still did well.
Okay, yeah. I think that this team is better than that, and I don't know if I can consider a season to be completely successful until we win domestic split.
That's what we all want at the end of the day, man.
Well, we'll have to see. I think it's too soon to talk about 2018 season. Just because it's so early. Yeah. But hopefully the team they'll rest. They'll just kind of cool off. They'll slowly, kind of reorient themselves. Get back into the swing of things eventually, and then hopefully do better with this weird return to the best of 1 format. But I think that's all for today. I don't have anything else to talk about.
I'm good.
I'm good as well.
Let's do predictions.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to.
Hold on. Oh, we have semis predictions.
Oh, right.
So, Havoc, who do you have for RNG SKT?
Sorry, I think I hit my volume wheel, so I couldn't hear you for some reason. Anyway, I think SKT is gonna win. At this point, I think it's just basically gonna be an SKT versus blank finals, and it's probably gonna be Samsung Galaxy. I just think that they're just the two better teams. So I'm gonna say SKT and Samsung win their matches. It's gonna be another Korean finals.
What do you have for the scores?
SKT's kind of been struggling lately, actually, so I think it can actually be 3-1 or 3-2, but I think SKT will pull out. Samsung, I think, will probably be a lot cleaner, and it'll probably just be 3-1.
All right, Dr. Manhattan, what do you think?
I'm gonna actually have to go instead and say for the first semifinal game, I'm gonna go ahead and actually say Royal will take it over. I think that what's really gonna be the tipping point that I just thought about was probably gonna be the jungle matchup, and that's just how much does MLXG just kind of like, because I mean there was times where MLXG wasn't looking terribly good against Fnatic, but the question is who are they gonna put in? Are they gonna put in Blank or Peanut? And how does he do against either of those? Because that could really throw off MLXG. But in general, I wasn't too impressed, unfortunately, by SKT's bot lane, which sucks considering I genuinely like them. And knowing how they don't live in our world of where Ardent Sensor finally got killed, or to some degree actually got like severely nerfed, the bot lane's going to be everything, and Uzi's playing his absolute damn best. So I'm going to go ahead and say 3-2, Royal Never Give Up. And as for Samsung versus, I'm just gonna say 3-0. Samsung over World Elite.
Yeah, I've been trying to debate who I think is gonna win the SKT RNG series. I think if RNG is gonna win, it's gonna be 3-1. But if it goes to Game 5, SKT is gonna win. But I know we've always said, SKT, they're just gonna win Worlds because they're there. Or some shit like that. But like this version of SKT is probably the weakest that we've seen at Worlds yet. Huni has been I don't want to say he's been weak, but he's been predictable. The jungle has been questionable at best compared to how they normally are. And I think their bot lane has underperformed to how they were, and that I think that if they don't come to play next week, that they could be beaten. And maybe it's about that time where they are showing a lot of complacency. But I don't want to write them off yet, just because I think that they are obviously the best esports organization of all time at this point, from a success standpoint. And I have a hard time giving a prediction, just because I think that if it doesn't go to 5 games, RNG wins, but if it goes to 5, SKT wins, just based on the fact that SKT is at a point where they've had their backs against the wall so many times and still pulled it out. And perhaps the third time is one too many, but I think that a lot of their fight is still there. So I have a super hard time at that. The WE Samsung matchup, I think, is going to come down to how Samsung can pick and ban their way into the matchup. If they allow Team W to get Galio or LeBlanc, then I think that W is going to be in a position to win the game. But if Samsung is able to keep Team W off LeBlanc, off Caitlyn, off Kog'Maw, off Galio, that they're going to be in a good position to win. I don't think that Samsung is this unbeatable juggernaut at this point, and I think it would have been so much more fun to see their first matchup, SKT versus WE and RNG versus Samsung. because I think that would have been a really good opportunity to see a non-Korean final, because I think that RNG has a chance to beat Samsung, but it's not it is something that we're ever gonna see.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all Korean finals are kind of boring, but who knows? Maybe the bad blood that has kind of been brought between Samsung and SKT can kind of make it interesting. You know, grudge matches are always fun, but we'll just have to see. So does anyone have any final thoughts before I close out this episode for good?
Thanks for the awesome fucking season, Cloud9 LOL, and I look forward to 2018.
Same.
Yeah, it was a fun ride. We saw some iconic plays. For me, I guess we can go through this again in the future, but off the top of my head, watching Sneaky play Tristana against Dignitas was a lot of fun. So we'll go through a better season review in the future, but for now, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, this is episode 59 of Bodied the Cloud9 Fancast. Feel free to tweet questions and feedback to us at C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. Questions will either be answered on the next podcast or just through tweeting at us or whatever. So, you know, definitely try to get a hold of us. We're on iTunes, so look for us there. If you haven't subscribed to all of our other crap. Thanks, Ian, for being an awesome audio editor person. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you.